Tonight, when you lay your head on your pillow and close your eyes, you are performing one of the most dangerous acts in the animal kingdom. For the next 7 or 8 hours, your brain will switch off its primary defenses. Your vision goes dark, your muscles lose their tone, you lose all awareness of the world around you. To any large carnivore, you are 150 pounds of soft meat, completely devoid of sharp claws, tear-inducing fangs, or thick protective armor. You cannot outrun a leopard, you cannot outwrestle a tiger, and in the pitch black of night, you are functionally blind. Yet every single night, billions of humans go to sleep, often under the open sky or with fragile doors between them and the wilderness, and wake up completely untouched. If you look at the natural world, sleeping is a life-or-death gamble. A sleeping zebra is an easy meal for a pride of lions. A sleeping primate in a tree is an easy target for a nocturnal python or leopard. So why is it that large predators, animals capable of tearing a water buffalo apart, seem to almost deliberately ignore sleeping humans? Why aren't wild carnivores treating a sleeping campsite like an open-air buffet? The answer reveals a terrifying evolutionary bargain, a deep-seated psychological trauma we inflicted on the animal kingdom, and a secret biological alarm system built into your brain that you use every day without realizing it. To understand why top predators avoid sleeping humans, you first have to look at how a predator actually decides to attack. Predators are not mindless killing machines. They are calculating, risk-averse survivalists. In the wild, a minor injury, a broken tooth, an infected scratch on an eye, a sprained paw, is a death sentence. A carnivore that gets injured cannot hunt, and the carnivore that cannot hunt starves. Because of this, predators rely heavily on specific triggers to initiate an attack. The most powerful trigger in the animal world is the flight response. When a prey animal panics and runs, it fires off an ancient, hardwired instinct inside the predator's brain, the predatory chase drive. When you are asleep, you do not run. You sit perfectly still, breathing slowly and evenly. To a wild predator, an animal that does not react and does not show fear presents a deeply unsettling puzzle. In nature, animals that remain motionless when a carnivore approaches fall into dangerous categories. They might be rotting, carrying lethal bacteria. They might be toxic. Or, worst of all, they might be setting an ambush. A predator approaching a motionless human doesn't see an easy meal. Its brain registers an unnatural anomaly, an unknown variable that breaks every rule of the hunt. But uncertainty is only the first line of defense. The real reason predators leave sleeping humans alone goes much deeper into a dark, blood-soaked history of revenge that reshaped the food chain forever. Imagine a tiger living 50,000 years ago. It sneaks into a human encampment under the cover of dark, finds a sleeping hunter, kills him, and drags his body into the jungle. In the animal kingdom, that's usually where the story ends. If a lion kills a baboon, the rest of the troop screeches, mourns, and moves on to new territory. They do not hold a grudge, and they do not track the lion down to eliminate it. Humans were different. Humans were the only species on Earth that practiced systematic, cold-blooded, retaliatory execution. If a predator killed a sleeping human, the tribe did not run away. They waited for sunrise. They gathered their spears, tipped their arrows with deadly toxins, unleashed trained hunting hounds, and tracked that specific predator for miles. They didn't stop until that animal was cornered and slaughtered. Then they wiped out its den. Over hundreds of thousands of years, any predator that developed a preference for hunting humans was systematically exterminated from the gene pool. The only predators that survived were the ones that possessed an intense, instinctual terror of human scent and presence. Scientists call this the phantom predator effect. Modern studies show that when top-tier predators like mountain lions, wolves, and black bears hear human voices, even recorded voices of people reading boring text, they instantly abandon their food, experience a massive spike in stress hormones, and flee the area. We didn't just teach predators to fear us when we were awake holding weapons. We burned that fear so deeply into their DNA that the simple smell or sound of a human sleeping in a sleeping bag triggers an evolutionary alarm bell that says, "Stay away or the pack will hunt you down." Yet, retaliatory hunting only works if someone survives the night to tell the tale. What kept our ancestors from being picked off one by one in their sleep before they could retaliate? This brings us to a groundbreaking discovery about human biology that changes how we view sleep. For decades, scientists struggled with a fundamental evolutionary puzzle. If humans spent thousands of years living in small bands of hunter-gatherers, vulnerable to nocturnal hyenas, saber-toothed cats, and cave bears, how could an entire tribe survive going unconscious for 8 straight hours? If everyone fell asleep at the exact same time, the defense fell apart, fire or no fire. In 2017, evolutionary anthropologists set out to test a theory known as the Sentinel hypothesis. They traveled to Tanzania to live with the Hadza people, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. The Hadza live in open-air camps on the East African savanna, surrounded by lions, leopards, and hyenas. Researchers equipped 33 Hadza men and women with advanced sleep-tracking wrist monitors for over 3 weeks to record their exact sleep patterns in real time. When researchers analyzed the data, they discovered something astonishing. Across more than 220 hours of sleep tracking, there were only 19 total minutes where every single adult in the camp was asleep at the same time. For over 99% of the night, at least one person was awake, shifting positions, tending the fire, or slipping into light sleep. The camp was almost never completely unconscious. What we in the modern world call sleep disorders, being a night owl who can't sleep before 3 in the morning or an early riser who wakes up at 4 in the morning, are not disorders at all. They are an ancient evolutionary survival mechanism. Human sleep patterns were designed by nature to be staggered. By having different generations and chronotypes within a group, the tribe created a continuous defense network. While early birds were getting deep sleep in the middle of the night owls were naturally wired to stay vigilant in the dark. And by the time night owls fell asleep in the early morning larks were already awake, making tools and starting fires. This collective vigilance was reinforced by another unique human adaptation, our relationship with fire and shelter. A sleeping human outside a shelter might look like a target, but a sleeping human inside a shelter, surrounded by the smell of smoke and char, looks like a death trap. Smoke is a universal signal of danger in the animal kingdom. Animals instinctively flee from the scent of fire because it means forest fires and inescapable death. By sleeping around smoldering coals or inside structures impregnated with ash, early humans wrapped themselves in an invisible blanket of predator repellent. Even the rare exceptions in history prove this rule. When predators do target sleeping humans, it is almost always under extraordinary circumstances. The famous man-eaters of Tsavo, 2 male lions that dragged dozens of railway workers out of their tents at night in 1898, only began hunting humans because severe dental disease and a devastating drought left them unable to hunt their normal prey. They were desperate, starving, and physically crippled. Normal, healthy predators in balanced ecosystems do not view a sleeping human as prey. They view us as a catastrophic hazard to be avoided at all costs. So tonight, when you climb into bed, pull up the blankets, and drift off into the dark, remember that your peaceful sleep isn't an accident. It is guarded by a biological inheritance forged over hundreds of millennia. You are protected by the deep-seated fear we carved into the minds of the world's deadliest carnivores, the lingering scent of ancient campfires, and an internal biological clock that spent millions of years making sure that even in your darkest hours, someone in the tribe was always keeping watch.